Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. And a very warm welcome to Monday's edition. It's Monday. It's a sunny Monday. Welcome to Monday's edition of the DC Universe Daily Matchster. Good morning, Mick. Good morning, Matchster. It is 11:30 in the morning here in Cyprus. We're talking James Gunn. We're talking his Superman Legacy revelations, and I really want to focus on this conversation. Matchster, I woke up 15 minutes ago, The Flow. Good morning, The Flow. So let's start from the start. Now, I tried to talk about this on last night's live, but I got distracted with the chat. Now, I will read out your comments, but I really want to focus on what I titled today's DC Universe Daily to be about, because it's very important. The Legend CJ, it's 1 a.m. here in America. Good morning. Wow. You're a late one. Matchster, yeah, man. WBD fucked over Henry so bad. I feel bad for him. I agree. So James Gunn has claimed that he's been working on Superman Legacy for over 6 months, which was before he and Peter Safran were appointed co-CEOs of DC Studios. He also says that Superman Legacy was always a separate project to Man of Steel 2. So before I get into that, why is he even admitting this? Why is he saying this? Is he trying to stir the pot? Is he trying to wind up Snyderverse fans? I don't know. So it's really confusing. Now, I always had this theory that Henry Cavill was never coming back. They announced he was coming back after his Black Adam cameo just to up the ante on the box office of Black Adam, because Black Adam didn't do well from its opening. Black Adam flopped at the global box office. I believe they got very desperate. And, Henry Cavill wasn't given a contract. Now, I didn't know that at the time. And when people were going on about his contract, I was saying, how could he do it without a contract? It's not possible. Well, it was just a one-off arrangement. They paid him a few $100,000, and that was it. Now, if they were looking to bring him back, why wouldn't they give him a contract? Because they never, ever intended on giving Henry a contract. So they lied. Now, I was watching a YouTube channel and someone said, oh, Henry jumped the gun saying he was back as Superman. Wait a minute. Wait a damn minute. Henry Cavill has already said, when he posted about James Gunn telling him he's not playing Superman anymore, that the studio told him to come out and confirm he was back as Superman. They told him that. But wait a minute. Where does this put Henry Cavill? Because is Henry Cavill a liar as well? Think about it. Henry Cavill came out with the knowledge, knowing that he didn't have a contract, that there wasn't going to be a contract for him, and told us, his fans and Superman fans and DC fans together, that he was back as Superman. Well, Henry, the question I'd like to ask you, my friend, is why would you do that without a contract? Is it plausible that Henry was lying, that Henry knew that he was never coming back as Superman? How can you come back as Superman? How can you make that announcement on your Instagram without a contract? It is my belief that Henry Cavill was very well aware that he wasn't coming back as Superman. I know that's going to get me cancelled. The Flow, but even official DC social media accounts welcomed him. Yes, but the Flow, they all welcomed him back, and Henry said he was back, and the studio said he was back without a contract. They never gave him a contract. So they were always saying, he's back, obviously to uplift a failure of a movie. Now, personally, I like Black Adam. I think it's an entertaining movie. I don't think we needed a Black Adam movie, but it's solid. It's not a good movie, but I enjoyed it. I gave it a B score because of that reason. I don't think it's bad enough to be C or C minus, but I think it's entertaining enough, but I don't think it's a good movie. I think the CGI is great, but that's different. The Legend CJ, you always got to have it on paper first over verbal agreement. Well, there's the thing, the Legend CJ, you've got it in one. He is very well aware that he didn't have a contract. The DC social media accounts would have just posted what they were told to post. Zaslav would have been very well aware that Henry wasn't actually going back and he had no intention of offering him a contract. It was a desperate move. But this is what I think. They were hedging their bets. If Henry Cavill was able to uplift Black Adam, clearly Black Adam would have had a future, The Rock would have had a future, and they would have done all the kind of Black Adam versus Superman, and Cavill would have been back in another corner. I think Cavill would have become Elseworlds, and Gunn's Superman Legacy, that was obviously in development at the same time, would have been the main universe. He still was going to develop his main universe. So they were hedging their bets. But once it failed, Henry Cavill was out the door. Now, if you look back to what I said at the time, I said exactly this. Matchday, everyone will blame James Gunn now, but back then he had nothing to do with it, and you can see how of a mess previous regime caused. Matchday, I have to correct you here, because David Zaslav and Discovery were running Warner Brothers at the time. It was the new leadership that made this decision. Mike DeLuca and Pam Abney were running Warner Brothers Pictures. They were part of this decision. It was the new leadership. And James Gunn has already admitted he's been working on Superman Legacy and Creature Commandos for over 6 months. So they were already there, all of them, behind the scenes. This is not on Emmerich. This is not on Hamada. This is on the new leadership. This can't be passed away. Now, excuse me, as I said earlier, why has James Gunn revealed this? Why would you do that? He's either stupid or he did it on purpose. Now, if he's done it on purpose, is he some kind of Marvel fifth columnist that he's just trying to destroy DC? Because I don't understand why you would reveal this information in the first place. I don't get it. He's going to have to explain it to me, and he won't. The Flo Zaslav was just waiting out the Black Adam results. If it did well, James Gunn was not hired as CEO of DC Studios. That's it. And Superman Legacy will be an Elseworld story. It's all very, very strange. But Flo, I think you've got a very good point there. That, as I've already said, he was hedging his bets. But I am stunned that James Gunn has revealed this. So there is now a claim that Man of Steel 2 and Superman Legacy were being developed at the same time. Now, clearly, they weren't going to make and release 2 Superman films, were they? And don't forget, there's a third Superman movie in active development. J.J. Abrams and Ta-Nehisi Coates, Superman of Color. So this is mind-blowing, even for my cynical mind, even for my knowledge of Hollywood. This is just mind-bendingly. And basically what they're doing, they're giving, the Snyderverse stands more mileage against them. Why is James Gunn doing this? Why has he revealed this? I do not understand. Matchda, I don't know if you remember, but The Rock wanted to be head of DC and have a bunch of movies involving Black Adam. Maybe Zaslav made him some false promises. If your movie's successful, the world's your oyster. But it's an insane way of running things. And I mean, basically, it looks like he had Gunn and Safran, and he was pitting them against DeLuca and Adby and The Rock. And whoever came up, it's like when you're a kid, right, and your teacher goes, right, I'm putting you all against each other. Whoever writes the best story wins. It's like that's what Zaslav was doing. Yusuf Aljawan, James Gunn only cleaning house. How is he cleaning house? By revealing this information. Why would you? This information is a bomb. And it just empowers the Snyderverse stands and gives them kind of more fuel for fire. I don't understand why he's doing this. This information didn't need to be revealed. It's nuts. I didn't need to know this. But I knew it was lunacy from the beginning. I mean, I did scratch my head when they announced Henry was back. I was a bit suspicious. This is too good to be true. Majda, I mean, let's be honest, Black Adam was a flop at the box office. It was. Sam Dejan reviews Man of Steel 2 was never announced. Not officially. I mean, it's weird. I mean, Henry was talking. I mean, it was weird. The legend CJ, I agree, it's making DC look even worse by these statements. It makes the people in control now. Now, when Henry was announced to come back, this was not on the entertainment news. This was on the main headlines of your news bulletins. The news at 10 on ITV, the news at 10 on the BBC, CNN. This was huge news. This is how big Henry Cavill's Superman is. Everyone was excited and they all lied. And I believe that Henry Cavill knew it was a lie as well, because there's no way he wouldn't have known that this was bullshit, right? This was never going to happen. Clearly, this was just used to uplift Black Adam. They all lied to us. And Henry Cavill basically took his 30 pieces of silver. Why did he do this? If you do this, Henry, we'll give you another role in the new DC universe, right? You can come back to us, my son, back to Warner Brothers, and you can be back. We won't poison you. We won't blacklist you anymore. Cavill was fully aware of the situation. Make no mistake about that. The legend CJ, this whole situation makes the general audiences hesitant to trust Warner Brothers. I wonder how Gunn will gain their trust again. That's what I mean, the legend CJ. Why did he come out with this? Why did he come out with this poisonous reveal? It makes no sense. Is he just being honest? He talks too much. Go and check Andy Machiete's Instagram. Ever since he was announced to direct the Flash movie, how many fucking times has he posted about the Flash? Nearly none. Zilch. This guy, James Gunn, I love him. I do. I appreciate his passion, but you talk too much, my friend. You talk too much, and you've got to stop it. And I came out about this in the early days when he was announced as co-CEO of DC Studios. I said he was talking too much then. Sam Dejan reviews. Michael DeLuca and Pam Adby promised him if he comes cameos in Black Adam and Flash, they will do Man of Steel 2. I think Cavill knew it was all bullshit. Sam Dejan reviews. Why didn't David Zaslav say no to the cameo? Because they were trying to save Black Adam. Matchda, yeah, James Gunn is acting like a 13-year-old boy. Post on Twitter just because he's bored or something. I think that's a good point, Matchda. I'm going to clear my throat there. But yeah, why has he revealed this? It doesn't make any sense to me. And it's a head-scratching situation. The legend CJ, I like that Gunn talks to the fans, but it's too much. Focus on making this universe work first and then come back. Yeah, that's right. You've come back. You've announced what you're doing. Let your slate do the talking. Make your movies. Make your content. If they're successful, then you can come out and talk as much as you want. He talks too much. And this is even before the release of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which he barely talks about. I mean, look, he's not going to change just because I tell him to change. Obviously, I wouldn't change if someone told me to change. I am who I am. He is who he is. And we love him, and sometimes we don't like him so much for it. But what he said about this, because as I commented on this, what he said, I said, so basically, James, you weren't the official CEO of DC Studios at the time, but you were the unofficial CEO of DC Studios at the time. Or it's even deeper than that, that he was going to do Creature Commandos and Superman Legacy without running DC Studios. So clearly, he was always going to be the CEO of DC Studios. That this was going on. Now, he denies that he was going to do all of this even when he was doing Peacemaker. He says that's not true. Maybe he's telling the truth there. But this reveal gives you a level of distrust about the whole situation. And something, Clay Staub, who's worked very closely with Zack Snyder, when Henry posted on Instagram about not being Superman anymore, he commented, he said, Henry, this just doesn't correlate to what I know about the situation. So I think that's a very, very interesting thing that Clay put down on the comments. The legend CJ, I guarantee during the press for Guardians 3, he will say another controversial statement about DC or overhype his slate, making audiences having high expectations. Yes, and I mean, it's good to have high expectations and to hype things and be confident in your own ability. But if you fail when you don't do well, look, there's no question. He talks too much. I talk too much, but I'm not the co-CEO of DC Studios. I mean, this guy can do 6 things at the same time. He can edit and do post-production on Guardians Volume 3. He can write a Superman script. He can come on Twitter and Instagram and keep posting. He posted about dogs yesterday as well. I mean, the guy just can't help himself. I mean, there's always been an ego there with James Gunn ever since Guardians 1 was successful. Blue Beetle Animator. Good morning, sir. Good morning, Blue Beetle Animator from Cyprus. It's 10 to midday here in Cyprus. The sun is out. The sky is blue, but it's raining. Raining in my heart. I love that tune. The Legend CJ, Superman Legacy needs to be successful for everything to work. What do you think? Yes. If that movie was to fail, everything's dead. Now, if it made about 750 million, I think they carry on and they persevere. But people will claim it's a flop. But yeah, everyone has to love this movie. And he's constantly winding up the Snyder fans and he's making enemies of them. And that's not a good thing either. He turned around the other day and said that Zack Snyder rang him up. Now, I wonder if it was just a voice message or something and he's over-egging that situation as well, trying to say that Zack wasn't interested in the Snyderverse. Of course he is. We know different. Snyder, at any time since this Sell Snyderverse to Netflix campaign started, could have said, guys, stop. I've moved on. He liked the post saying money talks. He is interested. He would come back just like that. And Netflix still haven't made a statement telling people to stop campaigning and using their name like this. Netflix must be very happy about this. It's free publicity, I suppose. Matchda, this is why I think they could have got someone else as CEO. Well, you could roll a dice because, make no mistake, Matchda, as I said at the very beginning, Safran and Gunn were already there. Gunn was going to be getting more projects after he finished with Guardians Volume 3. He was there already. Safran was already there. And then there's the whole thing with Dan Lin. And then there were rumors about Mike DeLuca, not Mike Diab, but Mike DeLuca, running DC Studios, and Pam Adby running Warner Brothers Pictures. Now, Mike is a great guy. Mike was the one who wanted to make an Iron Man movie before they made an Iron Man movie. He's a pioneer. He was involved with Blade and Blade 2. So Mike is very good. He understands. And he doesn't have the ego of James Gunn. Clearly, Adby and DeLuca wanted to restore the Snyderverse, and I think they wanted to do some exciting things with the existing cast they already had there. Now, there's an argument saying that that hasn't worked and people don't want to go to movie theaters and see that. That's something else you can say. It's not necessarily wrong to have Gunn and Safran there. And Gunn's slate sounds exciting. And it doesn't mean that what Gunn's doing is wrong. But I think it's outrageous that he's revealed this stuff. Yusuf El-Jawan, Henry Cavill at Warhammer. Has that been an official casting? That's a rumor right now. Yeah, that would be exciting for Henry. Don't forget, Henry's no longer The Witcher. He's no longer Superman. And he's no longer Highlander either. So there's definitely something amiss with Cavill as well. I don't think, mate, I do think there's something in some of the accusations about Cavill because, it doesn't make sense. Why is he gone? Why is it such a dramatic thing? He's not Superman anymore. Ben Affleck was allowed to come back in the Flash movie. Why wasn't Henry? This does say something about Henry's character. Why is Ben, a recovering alcoholic, right? He was revealed in the past to getting close with a woman, and that was they tried to cancel him over that. So it's just very strange that Ben gets a chance to say goodbye as Batman, and Henry doesn't get a chance to say goodbye as Superman. So there's definitely no smoke without fire, as far as I'm concerned. The Legend CJ, does WB have good relations with countries in Asia, such as China, so they can be more box office success? I think some WB stuff gets. There's no good relationships with China, right? China do what they want. You know, Black Adam wasn't allowed to be released in China. That hurt the movie. That movie would have been a smash hit if it was released in China. It was just on the precipice of making good money as well. So there's no special relationship. Ronnie Dodge, good morning to my top subscriber. How are you doing, Ronnie Dodge? If you need to know anything, Ronnie Dodge will get it for you. I'm calling him my info man. The Legend CJ, I'm confused. So at the end of the Flash movie, will it lead to the new DCU or will it just end the DCEU? Right. Well, basically, the Legend CJ, if you want, it's a bit of both. Basically, when he comes back, he's not come back to the same timeline. He's created another timeline. You can't mess around with time in the fictional world and basically just come back again. So there's a bit of a reality to that. Now, what could happen here is, because there is a part in this Flash movie where both of the Flashes run together to create the Speed Force and do something there without spoiling it. But I think if you remember rightly in the comics, when they created the New 52, what happened was there was a flashpoint. So what Barry did before the New 52 happened was that he rebooted the whole universe. I believe they're going to reboot the universe. That's what they're going to do. So the way they created the New 52, I think, is the way they create the new Gunn and Safran timeline. Sam Dejan reviews. Henry Cavill left The Witcher because Henry was upset the writer wouldn't use the books for the show. Well, apparently, yeah. But they were saying some interesting shit about him after he left. It depends who you believe, really. Ronnie Dodge, I'm still wondering if Grant has a cameo. He did, but I don't know if he does still. They've messed with that film quite a bit in terms of cameos. We know that Keaton's off the end, Sasha's off the end. So, you know, the ending isn't what it was. I can tell you what the ending was. It's what you've heard, basically. He comes back, basically, to a kind of, Hamada's timeline doesn't reset things as much as I think Gunn and Safran will reset things. So he comes back. So Michael Keaton is now Batman. Sasha Calle is Supergirl. Jason Momoa is still Aquaman. Shazam is still Shazam. Everyone's still the same. But there's no Superman. And there's no Batfleck Batman. And, you know, Barry's wondering where Superman is. And at first, nobody really remembers who Superman is. And then they kind of click in. And then basically something is revealed at the end of that movie. But that's changed now. That's changed to what they've done. So it's anyone's guess what we'll see at the end of this movie. Even if you're not interested in this movie, you should go just to see what happens at the end. The Legend CJ, do you think at the end of the movie, even the casting of the Flash will change? I will make this new DCU Flash Wally West and have Barry in the Speed Force. Well, James Gunn has said it's possible for all the 4 leads of this year's movies to be involved in DC Universe, but he didn't necessarily say as the characters they play right now, if you notice. Now, is it possible when he reboots the universe, we could have a new actor or we could have a Wally West? Yes. Basically, anything is possible here. I think you're going to be very surprised, and I'm going to be very surprised how dramatic the changes are by the end of the movie. I'm still excited about what's happening. I just don't understand why James has revealed this, that he's been working on this film for over 6 months and that Man of Steel 2 was a separate movie. I mean, it just goes to show that there was never any intention to bring Henry Cavill back. The Legend CJ, I will for sure recast Shazam. Zachary Levi is way too old for the DCU. Well, I don't think he's old in general. I think he may be too old to play Shazam. Although, listen, if you want to, I don't even think we need a Shazam necessarily. You could just rest Shazam. But if you really wanted a classic Captain Marvel, you could do that. You could do that story properly. Now, I like the Shazam movie, but it wasn't done like in the comics. There was something that it lacked from the comics. But I still liked it. It was its own thing. And I think David F. Sandberg made a great movie. And the proof of the pudding is in the eating. My nephew, my nieces, all my nephews and nieces loved Shazam. They sat there with their mums and dads. Kids loved this movie. This movie was made for families because families and children have every right to go and enjoy some superhero movies. And superhero movies shouldn't just be for old men like me. They should, DC Comics and Marvel Comics was created for children. Let's not forget that. And so, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. If Shazam's successful, I mean, I think the Flash movie, by the way, and it's insane to say this, but I still think the Flash movie is unlocked, which I think is absolutely fucking insane. So it's insane that James Gunn has revealed this. It's insane that they were hedging their bets, but Henry Cavill never had a contract. If the Black Adam movie was successful, he would have got one. It wasn't, so he didn't get one. But there was no plan to bring him back. Basically, they said to him, tell them you're coming back, and if Black Adam works, you come back, and if it doesn't, you don't come back. Henry Cavill had to have been very well aware of this situation. Blue Beetle Animator, they should just drop Ezra. It's too big of a financial risk to keep him. The Legend CJ, I like the confidence by Gunn, just hope he doesn't jinx it. I don't mind his confidence. I don't mind his plans. I just don't understand why he's revealed that he'd been working on Superman Legacy for over 6 months. I suspected, I've even said it on my channel on multiple occasions, that James has been working on this shit prior to the announcements. He knew what was going to happen months and months before, prior to these announcements. But why you would reveal this shit, it amazes me. I mean, I just think he's out to trigger people. He likes the explosion. He obviously loves the reaction. He loves people saying his name all the time. There is ego with this, but also I think he loves triggering the Snyder fans as well. But there you go. So Henry Cavill's Superman is trending again, thanks to James Gunn. I don't think it's Superman Legacy that's trending. It's Henry Cavill's Superman. Henry Cavill's Superman is a very difficult Superman to get rid of, and I don't think it's the last that we've seen of him personally. This is a very complicated situation, and people are fighting. The Legend CJ, I can't imagine the outrage if Gunn confirms they will keep Ezra. I think he's fired, but right now, hiding it for the sake of the movie. Absolutely, Legend CJ. They were never going to keep him. You heard what he said. All these four leads have got a chance to be involved in the DCU. Yeah, of course they have. As different characters, maybe, probably. But it's all bullshit. I would say maybe Blue Beetle may remain. Ronnie Dodge. James is just honest. Also, I feel he does it to wind up certain fans. I do love it. Sorry, but I do. That's fair enough. But I do think it's insane, Ronnie, to admit this stuff. I don't think it really, it can create mistrust. And I mean, I think it's insane that he's revealed this stuff. Look, it don't wind me up. What's done is done. Henry Cavill was never coming back. They used him to uplift Black Adam. Fair enough. It was a business tactic. And, they gambled. It didn't work. They paid him a few $100,000 to come back. We get an awesome cameo of Henry as Superman. We're always going to have that. And that's cool. Because as I always said, even in my non-spoiler review, and it's still pinned on my channel, I said, this is not The Dark Knight, this is not The Joker, but it's a really entertaining movie. It's probably one of The Rock's better performances. But make no mistake, The Rock isn't a good actor. He's basically Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jean-Claude Van Damme, but Jean-Claude Van Damme and Arnold Schwarzenegger are multiply more talented than The Rock. How The Rock gets to make movies, I don't know. Some of his movies do well, but most of his movies fail. And I'm stunned that this guy is given opportunities. Why can't I get this geezer's opportunities, right? What's the difference? My movies would be flops, and his movies are flops. I don't get it. I mean, there's an element of honesty about him, Ronnie, but also I think he likes the sound of his own voice, and I think that can be problematic. Ronnie Dodge, James changed the past, and now the future is bright, and Superman has the no-kill rule, which I absolutely adore. That's what I want. I absolutely want the general audience and Superman fans to say, yes, this is what we want from our Superman. Now, Snyder fans will say, oh, he can't just be happy, he's got to have flaws and stuff like that. Yes, Superman does have flaws. James explained Superman's flaw of never wanting to hurt anyone or kill or being so honest in a dishonest world in a way that is his flaw. It's his naivety. Now, it's a really bad thing that we see as a flaw, but I think it's a flaw in terms that people can take advantage of that pure honesty. The Legend CJ, can you rank the best WWE wrestler turned actor between Dave Bautista, The Rock, and John Cena? I think John Cena is a better actor, and he proved this in Peacemaker and The Suicide Squad. If you haven't seen his performances in Peacemaker, this guy is fucking acting. He's acting with a fucking parrot or parakeet or whatever eagle he is, right? He's crying when he talks. The stuff he's doing with the guy who plays his father, Robert Patrick, who was in T2. I mean, Cena, for me, is the best. In terms of acting, you got to remember that my friends are actors. I've been to drama school. I went to RADA. I've been to film school. So I know the difference between an actor and someone who just stands there and looking good. So for me, it's John Cena. Ronnie George, Dave and John Cena are clear of The Rock. Yeah, I think Cena is better than Batista. Batista's not really my cup of tea, if I'm being honest, but he does do a solid job on Guardians. Ronnie George, Rock just plays himself in most movies. Do you mean playing with himself or plays himself? No, I'm joking. Sorry, Dwayne, I do love you. But yeah, you're not a very good actor, and I don't really understand why you get to make films. And that's just my honest opinion. But if we're looking at the best performance, it is Black Adam. But it ain't great acting or anything. It's just his best performance in terms of what he's done in the past. So, yeah, so I think revealing what James Gunn has revealed is messy. Clearly, he's having fun with it. He likes to do this shit. I'm glad you're having a good time, James, by all means. You know, have a good time at the fans' expense. This is what you people do today. I think that it just proved that Man of Steel 2 was never a thing and Henry Cavill was never coming back. The whole thing was just to try desperately to make money for Black Adam. And that's it. So, yeah. But I'm happy with what James and Peter are doing. I'm happy with the slate, as I say repeatedly every day. It's an exciting slate. Superman Legacy, The Brave and the Bold. Obviously, the Wonder Woman HBO Max show. Paradise Lost sounds very exciting. Lantern sounds very exciting. Obviously, Swamp Thing sounds very exciting. That's the beginning of this Justice League Dark Universe as well. Constantine 2, which is not part of Gunn's slate, but is exciting as well. Joker is going to be great. Batman 2 is also going to be great. So there's nothing that I'm seeing that's upcoming that I see as problematic. So, yeah, I am excited. Ronnie George, I feel Karen Gillan is joining the DCU. Well, there's a high probability that a lot of the actors he's worked with in the past will join him. He likes to do that. I mean, his brother's always with him, and that's fair enough. It's his brother. He wants to help him. He wants to give him work. He wants to give his wife work. That's also understandable. I don't really see the beef about that. People are saying, oh, well, he sacked Henry Cavill, but he's giving his wife and brother jobs. Well, yeah, but if you were him, you would do the same thing. The Legend CJ, do you think the DC Elseworld movies will have a different logo from the main DCU? Without a shadow of a doubt, the Legend CJ, they will have a different logo for sure. And they will come up. And I think it's exciting. It's exciting. And I think the Batman from Matt Reeves can go on beyond the trilogy. I think Todd Phillips will keep on making different Black Label movies as well. So it's exciting. Ronnie George, I'm interested to see a young Hippolyta in Paradise Lost. Yeah. Who's going to be playing Hippolyta? Now, is she going to be a younger version of the version we saw in the DCEU, or is she going to be an entirely different version? She'll probably be black. She'll probably be black or native. I don't think this is a kind of prequel to Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. I mean, and he didn't say it was a prequel to Gal Gadot. And we still don't know the future of Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. The Legend CJ, one thing DC has by far over Marvel is the multiverse. DC's king in that. Hopefully they are successful to it. It's interesting because I think we were going to really take a deep dive into the multiverse, the DC multiverse under Hamada. We're certainly not going to go that deep into the multiverse now. Maybe we will, I don't know, but it doesn't feel that way. Ronnie Dodge, if Connie Nelson is playing her, we know Gal is staying. Yeah, but there's nothing been said. Yusuf El Jawan, what do you think of Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn? I'm very, very excited. I love that picture from the set. The chemistry between Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga looks immense. I'm very happy with her casting. The Legend CJ, I doubt Gal stays. She's almost 40. Well, the age really isn't an issue for me. Ronnie Dodge, Gal is 35. I didn't think she was much as 40. But the point is, I think this is a bigger reset than people realize. You know, if you're rebooting something, if they do reboot the timeline, if Barry does that, like they did with the New 52, I think you can literally keep or get rid of anything you want. But he's not going to say he's getting rid of the 4 leads of this year's movies before those movies have been released. No one's going to do that. Even James Gunn wouldn't be stupid enough to make that announcement. The Legend CJ, it's late over here. What's that say? I'm rounding it up. Ha ha ha. Yeah, I didn't think she was 40, but even if she was 40, it wouldn't be an issue. I don't think her age is the issue. The issue is that he wants to reset. This is a big reset. This is a bigger reset and reboot than people think it is. And you wait and see. You wait and see. People are going to be shocked. But this is huge. But the revelation that he's been doing this for over 6 months really shouldn't be coming as much as a surprise, because clearly he had to be working on all this slate. He couldn't have just he couldn't just pull out the Gods and Monsters slate out of his ass after 5 minutes. So I always said they had been working there behind the scenes for a while, and this was a plan for quite a while. Whose plan this actually was, I don't know. But yeah, I think it's a stunning revelation. But in the end of the day, I'm more stunned that Gunn has spoken about it, because it's something I always suspected. The Legend CJ, my only fear is that they don't go woke like the MCU. Hopefully WB is showing the downfall of the MCU and avoids this. Well, it's very important that they don't go down that direction, the Legend CJ. I don't think that Zaslav's worldview is that way inclined. So hopefully he doesn't allow it. I think HBO Max may remain a little woke, but in terms of releasing movies in theaters, it doesn't look like. But we'll find out if they're going to go woke when they announce the casting for Superman and Batman and other characters. We'll see what's going to happen. There's no question Gunn is a progressive, but he could be stifled by Zaslav. So let's see. The casting will tell us everything we need to know. And then we'll see if they're going woke and going broke, or if entertainment has returned to entertainment. You know, there's all this outcry over the BAFTAs, you know, awarding white people. We live in a ridiculous, sick world, I'm afraid. And the people who accuse everyone else of being racist are actually the racist ones. So, yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. The casting will tell us what they're going to do. So, who's Superman going to be played by? Who's Batman going to be played by? It's all very, very interesting. Who's going to direct Brave and the Bold? Who's going to direct? I think that James will write and direct The Authority. I think he said that's a movie he's very passionate about. I think that will be his movie, and I think that will be a very darker. I think you'll never see a more darker James than The Authority. And I think The Authority is even more important than Superman Legacy, because that sets everything up. I think that's the way they're going to go. The Authority, I think, is the backstory of this timeline. And I think there's something going on there. And I think maybe the history of this DC universe was Kingdom Come. And something happened. Maybe if we get John Kent as the main Superman, Kal-El was Kingdom Come Superman. Maybe. And so basically, John Kent has to deal with that terrible history of Kal being Kingdom Come Superman. And maybe that's why we're getting The Authority. Maybe, maybe not. The Legend CJ, Comic-Con will be big for DC. We will see the brand new cast. Interesting, he said, the casting, there will be casting in the next 6 months. So where are we now? March, April, May, June, July. Yeah. So I think there could be a lot of exciting announcements. Whether we'll get them first announced at Comic-Con or prior to that, then have them all there at Comic-Con. But clearly, Comic-Con is going to be a big celebration of DCU. James Gunn likes to do things a very big way. So interesting, very interesting. But James Gunn has been working at DC for a very long time now, and he was developing Superman Legacy, as I suspected, and he was unofficially the co-CEO of DC Studios a lot longer prior to when it was announced, and that was obvious. So maybe even the plan was always there, even when he first came. I don't know. But from the moment he was announced to do Suicide Squad, he was going to be doing more and more and more because they believe James Gunn is where it's at. They correlate the success of the MCU partially to him. He's connected to a successful franchise when it was successful before it turned into this shit show. But also, James Gunn has never made a $1 billion movie. I want you to remember that. Zack Snyder has never made a $1 billion movie, but neither has James Gunn. Think about that for a minute. So, can he get his first $1 billion movie? And the press don't make a big deal out of it. And I only noticed it when I checked the box offices for Guardians 1 and 2 and his other movies. Suicide Squad was a flop, of course. So, yeah, everyone I assumed that Guardians 1 was a $1 billion movie. At least Guardians 2 was, but no. I think one made 600 or 700 million and the other one made well over 800 million. So that's a very interesting situation. Not that it matters, but, Zaslav will be looking at that $1 billion target. There's no question about that. He's given Gunn the freedom. He's given Safran the freedom to do what they want. So this has to be successful. There is no wiggle room for DC Studios and James and Peter. They have to be successful. There can be no excuses. Now, there's no evidence to say that they will not be successful. There will be a lot of people who want them to fail, and there'll be a lot of people who want them to succeed. Now, personally, I want them to succeed. I'm a DC fan. I don't have any kind of allegiances to directors. My allegiance is to democracy, to DC. Yusuf, Al-Jawan, Safran has $1 billion movie Aquaman. Yeah, I mean, listen, yeah, you can say that, but he had very little to do with that movie at the end of the day, Yusuf. We're talking about writer-directors here. We're talking about Zack Snyder and James Gunn. We're not talking about producers. So, yeah, a bit of propaganda there from Yusuf. The Legend CJ, Comic-Con will be big for DC. See the Brown, I already read that. But, yeah, James Gunn has never made a $1 billion movie. That's what I'm saying. So he has got no more to brag about than Zack Snyder at the end of the day. I look at Zack Snyder's movies like Watchmen. Can someone go and check how much Watchmen made? If Ronnie Dodge is still about, can Ronnie Dodge check how much Watchmen made at the global box office? It'd be interesting to see Zack's box office for his main big film. Forget the animated movie he did and the one with the women. Forget that. They weren't big movies. There's no point talking about them. I think like Man of Steel made just under 700 million. BVS made 850 million. The Snyder Cut, well, who knows what that made at the end of the day. But ultimately, it was well reviewed by fans and verified critics on Rotten Tomatoes. So, yeah, his box office record actually isn't that bad. Dawn of the Dead, I'm not sure how much that made, but I think that was a solid movie as well. So I think Zack's record's pretty neat. I mean, James Gunn really hasn't got the biggest of CVs if you look at it. So that's an interesting thing as well. But there is a lot of hype around James Gunn. And there is this kind of artificial representation of him being, a $1 billion movie director. I really did think that the Guardians movies each made $1 billion at least, but they didn't. So that's interesting. There is this reputation of, because I think it's because he talks a lot and he has got this reputation And clearly he did a very good job with Guardians. I think Guardians 2 is a good movie. Maybe Guardians 2 isn't as good as the first movie. Blue Beetle animator James Gunn dealt with unpopular characters, though Zack directed Batman and Superman film. Blue Beetle, first of all, he didn't deal with unpopular characters. He dealt with unknown characters and he made them popular. And that's great at the end of the day. But still, he does act like a billion-dollar movie director. And I'm just saying it's interesting that he's not. Yeah, Zack worked with Superman and Batman, but he did something very unique and very different, and that wasn't for everyone. So that's why his movies didn't reach $1 billion. But Zack's box office is pretty solid. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, Batman and Superman shouldn't be making more money. They should be. But when you go down the direction that Zack did, that's never going to happen. So Zack made unpopular Superman and Batman movies, but still made okay money. That says a lot. That means a lot of the audience enjoyed what Zack did, but not the general audience. So it really is an interesting thing. But the Guardians were never unpopular. They just weren't well known. There's a big difference. And credit to James Gunn. But is he a one-trick pony? Now, on the reverse footing of what you say about Zack, he's made unpopular characters successful, like Peacemaker and Bloodsport and people like that, right? And, you know, the Guardians characters. But now, can he make Batman and Superman billion-dollar movies? Can he do what Snyder didn't? Let's see how good this guy is. I've always seen Gunn, and I've said it on his channel, as a one-trick pony. Well, he's making a Superman movie, at the very least. And that Superman movie has to be well-reviewed, loved by everyone, and make near on $1 billion. Even if it's not $1 billion, just under $1 billion, it has to do better than Man of Steel, or the Snyder fans are going to destroy him and really relish that situation as well. So he's definitely, he's definitely got a challenge. He's confident. He's obviously confident in his own ability, as he should be. And only time will tell. You've heard one, James Gunn, he's a horror director. He's not a horror director. He's not a horror director. He's done lots of different things. He's not just a horror director. And I mean, what horror has he directed? That's an interesting one for Yusuf. I do love the internet. It's all about opinions, isn't it? But yeah. So James does put pressure on himself, and that's up to him. He's very direct. He says stuff, but I'm very direct as well. Yusuf Ajwan, Sliver. That's one movie, yeah? Doesn't make him a horror director. Is Richard Donner a horror director because he did Omen? No. Richard Donner did Superman. Richard Donner did the Lethal Weapon series. He did Conspiracy Theory. He did Goonies. So, yeah, James Gunn isn't a horror director. He did one movie. I've never even watched Sliver, to be honest with you. I don't know what it is. But, yeah, he's not a horror director, is he, Yusuf? That's one film. But, yeah. My whole point on why I wanted to talk about this today was that it's shocking to me that James has come out and revealed this. I mean, I was pretty sure about this from the beginning, that Henry was never really coming back. It was all a tactic to try and uplift Black Adam. And the whole thing was bullshit. There was no plan. And the timing of the announcement of Gunn and Safran coming in is all very interesting. And make no mistake, Gunn and Safran were always there, always working. So clearly that's what Zaslav wanted. Or, on the other foot, Zaslav tried to get other people and they said no. And Gunn and Safran were the only ones to say, you know, we'll take this on. We'll clean this up. So they've spoken a good game. They've given a great slate. But, you know, as I say, Gunn, with what he says online, you know, he does add fuel to the fire. People are running with this situation where Man of Steel 2 was apparently in development, which it wasn't. There was never a Man of Steel 2. That's my point. It was always going to be this. We were always getting this. They were always rebooting. Now, if Black Adam was successful, you know, something could have happened and maybe they would have shoved it on Elseworlds. I don't know. But ultimately, I think, look, one thing I know about studios is they know what's going to be successful. Why do you think they hurriedly put Henry Cavill's Superman in a post-credit scene? Because they knew the projections were bad for Black Adam before we even got the projections. So they knew they were in trouble. And they probably knew that the Henry Cavill thing probably wouldn't work anyway. I mean, to get Henry to uplift that movie, Henry would have to have been a big part of that movie. And to put him in the main part of that movie, they would have had to have changed the movie. And it was too late at that point. So they're moving to something new. Now, so I can forget about this revelation by James Gunn. It's all about what he does in the future. It's all about the DCU. If he can make it successful, then nothing else matters. So it's going to be interesting. And, you know, that's where I am on it. So, yeah, it's an uncomfortable truth. An uncomfortable truth I suspected that, and I do believe that Henry Cavill was very well aware that he was never coming back. He was part of it. He was part of the lie. That's what I think. I don't think there's any way he didn't know, because he didn't have a contract. What did he think was going to happen? Did they promise him a contract afterwards? Why would he believe that? He'd have to be fucking naive. I don't think anyone's that naive, you know. I'm sorry, I don't believe it. So he was very well aware of what was going on, and they didn't pay him much money to do the cameo, although for the amount of time he's in that, it probably was an expensive cameo, and they were hoping to make money. But once it wasn't going to be released in China, Black Adam was in a lot of trouble, and I think that's when they probably made the decision. It was a quick one. It was a quick cameo, but it is interesting. And then when he quit The Witcher, everyone said, well, he's quit The Witcher to make more Superman. Well, that doesn't make sense, because he didn't have a contract to make Superman. Why would he quit The Witcher? Then it was said he quit The Witcher because of creative differences. That could be true, but who knows? So, look, at this time, unless the campaign to sell Snyderverse to Netflix works, which is unlikely, Henry Cavill is done as Superman, and we're moving on to this franchise. And we'll wait and see if it's successful or not. But super, the way The Rock talked about Black Adam and building a universe had WWE all over it. Some actors shouldn't have too much control. Yeah, I mean, listen, he was talking out of his ass, because what he was trying to do, he was talking like it was already successful. That's basically, it's manipulative, isn't it? You know, if you go and watch this, if you go and make this successful, then I'll give you this and I'll give you that. And then out of desperation, he started talking about Superman versus Black Adam and said, if you support this movie, we can do this, we can do that. The whole thing was a manipulation, because they all knew the film was going to fail. Do you understand, Bat Super? That's why all that shit was. And he was talking about Superman versus Black Adam. There was no real intention to do any of this. It was a desperate attempt. Don't forget, the more money Black Adam made, the more money The Rock made as well. These people are bloodhounds. They pretend to be your friends during the marketing. They want to be successful, not because they're your friends, because they want to make money and they want to make more projects so they can make more money. This is what this bloodline of people are in Hollywood. They're bloodhounds. All they care about is making money, and you are just a means to an end to them. And what Baz Super explains here about what he was going to do, yeah, it's classic WWE, and WWE isn't even real. I mean, that's all fed off the script. But these people are in the masters of hyping you up over nothing, and that's what Black Adam was, hyping us up over nothing. Because once Zaslav came in, he looked at the DCEU and he said, this is a barrel of shit. We're not keeping it. And basically, he obviously spoke to Gunn and Safran and said, I want this rebooted. I think you're capable of rebooting this. Do it. And the Flash movie is going to be the time tunnel that reboots this universe. Now, wouldn't it surprise me when Barry reboots the universe that it goes white and that's how it finishes? And so we don't know what comes next. And as I said before, I don't know what Blue Beetle does, because Blue Beetle was set in a new timeline, but not in James and Peter's new timeline. So have they done reshoots for that movie? I'm not aware of any. So that's a bit of a confusing situation as well. But the only way we get unconfused is by watching these movies. It was always about getting these 4 movies out of the way, enjoying them, going to see them, then looking to the future. The Flash movie is going to be epic. Lots to look forward to. It's a great farewell to the DCEU. The DCEU's going. whether we like it or not. That's what's happening. The Snyderverse has been gone for a long time, whether Snyderverse fans like it or not. They can fight for Snyderverse to be sold to Netflix. I support that fight. But at the end of the day, we are moving in this direction. And whether this direction carries forth is if it's successful or not. And that is all on Superman Legacy. It's not on Waller. It's not on Creature Commandos. It's on Superman Legacy. If that movie makes over $1 billion, then Gunn and Safran will be safe and they can get working. James Gunn is certainly a popular figure with the modern day consumer, and that will get him some leeway. But we'll see. We'll see when we see the castings, the posters. That's how you see if people are going to receive this stuff well. And so, yeah, it's a crazy situation for James to come out and say, I've been working on this for over 6 months. No shit, Sherlock. But what it's done is posed deeper questions, and basically questions that were obvious, that we were never getting Henry Cavill back. It was all too good to be true. And a lot of it was inferred and assumed. It was very clever. Because the DC social media account was just saying, welcome back, Henry, right? Welcome back, Superman. They never said you're getting a Man of Steel 2. Nobody said that. Henry said, I don't want to betray my partners. He didn't say anything. He said, we're working on some ideas, for example. Myra Batrix. Grace Randolph says there are allegations about James Gunn. What allegations are you talking about, Maya? Are you talking about the allegations that the Snyderverse fans are making against him, that he's an alleged child abuser? There's no evidence to those allegations. The only thing that's against James Gunn is his historical tweets of the jokes he made and the parties he went to, obviously, but there is no evidence of the other allegations. So there are allegations, but allegations. Look, and those allegations that people are making, Zaslav is very well aware of them. Everyone's aware of them, and he's still working in the industry. And unless there's proof, unless he's arrested for these allegations, they will carry on with him. Maya Buttrey, she's off her rocker as usual. Yes, look. I think Grace has great knowledge in the industry. I think she knows a lot about films, about old movies. Sometimes I could watch her stuff forever, but when she starts on shit like this, Maya, I'm not interested, because there is no evidence, even if there are allegations. Yes, he went to those parties, yeah? We know the parties. He's kind of linked with some people who have got a dodgy reputation, but there is no evidence that James Gunn has ever committed any types of those crimes. So people have to be very, very careful. So unless he's proven to be something that he's accused of, I'm saying nothing about it. All I'm going to say is that he made some bad jokes in bad taste. I don't know what those parties are about. I don't know if those parties are to celebrate that situation or to mock child abusers. I'm not sure. So because I don't have an understanding of it, I'm not going to make any accusations. So at this moment in time, he's guilty of misjudgment, making, jokes about a serious situation, right? And he's apologized for that. So that's good enough for me for now, because there's no evidence. So I'm hyped for what he's doing. I'm excited for what he's doing. And at the end of the day, Maya, the entertainment industry, I know this, is a corrupt business with a lot of corrupt people. And if you take one person down, you have to take them all down. And we won't have an industry. And I know that sounds bad. It's a bit like my beloved Manchester United. And everyone's, upset about the Qatar bid, right? And they're guilty of this and they're guilty of that. But then if I say I don't want them owning my club, then I have to stop using this laptop that's made by certain dodgy countries and different things like that. It depends how, at the end of the day, moral high ground's all very well. But at the end of the day, every one of us have got quite a way to fall. Maybe we should just admit that none of us are perfect and let it be. And the only reason people are accusing, these unfounded accusations is because a lot of Snyderverse fans are upset that Snyder isn't running DC and James Gunn is. Even if it wasn't James Gunn, whoever was running this franchise, would be attacked. Now, I love Zack. I love the Snyderverse. But at the end of the day, I'm not interested in unfounded accusations. I like James. I think he's an excitable creative. He's very passionate. And until he's proven to have broken a law or done something wrong, I'm really not interested. You know, it's like the accusations of Woody Allen or anything. Look, it's a very, very corrupt industry, and they can carry on being corrupt, but they've got to stop talking down to us, the consumer, because they've got a lot higher to fall down from than we have. So it's the lecturing, it's the virtue signaling, it's accusing people of being racists and homophobes and nonsense like that. That's what they've got to stop. But at the end of the day, as far as they know, James Gunn is just guilty of making jokes in bad taste. And Grace Randolph doesn't know any more than anyone else. And but she will do anything, like they all will, to get hits and views. And it's a shame, because as I say, she's a passionate movie fan. She's a passionate Batman fan. She has great knowledge. If you follow her most of the time, she says a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff. You know, she talks about, you know, she's concerned that they're not doing a proper DCU reboot. I think they are, but they're using the Flash movie to do it. But she's right there. She talks about old movies sometimes and says some great stuff. So she is off, you're right. She is off her rocker. But she's also a very interesting person. So I don't dismiss people because they're nuts, because I'm nuts. And I think most of us are nuts anyway, aren't we? But yeah, I don't really pay much attention to unfounded accusations, because these days everyone is being accused of things that there's no evidence of them doing. And at the end of the day, it doesn't bother me. You know, it's, you know, if you prove that James Gunn's done anything like that, then fair enough. I say, you know, this is, you know, arrest him. But, you know, we're not there. He's going to carry on. Nothing's going to be proven, Maya, at the end of the day. He will continue working on DC, whatever shit people say. He's here. And the only way he and Saffron go is if they fail. I don't see how they fail with that slate, because that slate tells me they know exactly what they're doing. That's what it looks like to me, because this is what we've been asking for all along. We've been asking for a plan, and they have a plan. They have a slate called Gods and Monsters. They have a Superman movie. They have a Batman movie. They have a Swamp Thing movie. They have a prequel for Wonder Woman on HBO Max. They have a Green Lantern show that's very much, you know, setting up this story that's going to be shared on all these platforms. They're going to have gaming. They sound like they know exactly what they're doing. My only criticism of James Gunn, as I've been saying for the past hour, that he talks too much, and I'm shocked that he revealed the fact that he's been working on Superman Legacy and Creature Commandos for over 6 months, because that proves the plan for him and Peter to take over has been here ever since Zaslav took over, and they were just waiting at the right time to announce it. I think probably the initial plan was just to let all these remaining DCEU movies be released, and I think because they were delayed last year, that caused a bit of a problem as well. So I like Gunn, I like Saffron. In fact, when I used to see Saffron in the BTS on my Blu-rays, I thought that guy seemed like a really solid dude. And I always thought he would be a great guy to run DC. So I think we've got two good people in terms of knowledge. I think they're doing the right things. I'm just shocked that Gunn talks so extensively. Bat Super, one side is accusing Gunn without proof and standing Leto, and the other side is accusing Leto without proof and standing Gunn. Listen, I'm very well aware of this historical situation between James and Jared. I'm going to say is I love Jared Leto. I've loved Jared Leto since Mr. Nobody. I think he's a very, very good actor. I think he's a solid Joker, but I can see why people have got problems with his Joker. And I don't know what the beef between them is. I don't know if, as I say, this industry is corrupt, and this industry is well known to have a lot of, let's say, alleged child abusers in it. It's in the culture. It's in the culture of the industry. And, you know, young child actors come in, they're messed about with. I mean, we've heard that maybe Ezra Miller was abused as well. That's just an alleged allegation, and that may be why they had these mental problems as well. So this is why I'm trying to go a bit more gentle on Ezra as well. So there is a cultural problem about super in this industry. But I am not the kind of person who's going to start saying, because I don't have any evidence. So lots of people these days are accused of so much. There's people from the industry who are dead now, who are being accused of this, that, and the other. I can't do it. I can't cancel everyone just in case they might have done something, right? This isn't Minority Report. We ain't got any precogs, right? So we don't know. So at the end of the day, there's no evidence of James Gunn. James Gunn's a great creative. They've announced a fantastic slate for DC. As a fan, I'm hyped. I love Zack Snyder, but I'm not going to get James Gunn's head and rub it in the mud just because I appreciate what Snyder did. I wish Snyder finished his arc. His arc sounds tremendous. Having the Riddler solve the anti-life equation is fucking genius in Justice League 2. I said that on my live yesterday. It's tragic, but this happens all the time. Sometimes creatives don't get to finish what they do. Who watched the sci-fi miniseries V? I'm sure some of you did, right? This was written and created originally by Kenneth Johnson, who also wrote and created the original Incredible Hulk television series. So the man's a genius. He did 2 90-minute episodes, and he was going to come back with more, but he had creative differences. So in the end, they came back with V, The Final Battle. Now, that had nothing to do with Kenny. And because I was watching his commentary a few months ago, and it was very, very interesting. But he said they had creative differences. So instead of carrying on with the kind of themes they were using in V in terms of, what the Nazis did to the Jews and using it with aliens against humans and aliens, going against the scientists, they went down a different direction. So this happens. The reason I'm talking about Kenny and V is because this happens all the time. So Zack Snyder is no more special than anybody else. The studios and the networks own the IPs. They give you the money at the end of the day. You are beholden to what they want. Sometimes they'll give you freedom. Now, when I was growing up, you got freedom on non-IPs, stuff that you created yourself. And they didn't really care what you did with Apocalypse Now or, The Godfather. They weren't really IPs. These were visionary directors and writers who came out of film school, right? And they did their thing and they made money. And so they kept on, going to film schools and appointing people like George Lucas and Coppola, and Scorsese and Spielberg and, Richard Donner and all these different people. This is what they don't do today. I mean, I've said it yesterday. The ability today to create a story in a film, in television or film, isn't as huge as it was when I was growing up. Take the zombie show that's based off the game, The Last of Us, right? I'm enjoying that show, but I must admit, and I've never played the games, but I must admit, they started this very interestingly for me. They didn't focus on Joel and Ellie from the beginning. For example, we went to episode 3 and we diverted to the relationship and the romantic story, which I loved, which was great. I don't have any complaint over. But for me, you dived into that. You needed to build up Joel and Ellie as soon as possible at the end of the day. And they kind of diverted from Joel and Ellie. And I think that romantic storyline needs to be built up over a whole season. So when they do die, sorry for spoiling it for you if you've seen it, it's bigger. If you've watched a soap opera or a British soap opera before, where they build up characters, but then they die. When Dirty Den died after 4 years on EastEnders, it had a bigger impact, didn't it? Because we got to know those characters. Where this episode 3 was just about saying, let's do a gay romance because, it's cool to do a gay romance. Again, I have nothing against it. I loved it. Love is love, right? But again, it was just for them to make a political point, not because they were supporting the LGBTQ community. Because as I've said before, progressives are weaponizing the LGBTQ community, gay and trans people, pretending they're on their side, but they're using them as a means to an end. And what they're doing is they're making others hate this community by the way they're selling this community. And I think this is where we are today as well in entertainment. And so there's no question about it. The people running entertainment and making entertainment, have a different mentality to what the people did when I grew up. Back then, they said, if we entertain people, we will make money. Excuse me. We will make money. Today, it's let's just sell political points and let's sell our extremism, and we don't care about entertainment. These idiots will come and watch whatever shit we make anyway. That's the attitude today. They blatantly hate us. But there was a mutual respect when I was growing up. The mutual respect was, let's entertain the people, right? Life's hard enough. Let's entertain them. And if we entertain them, they make us money. So it's a mutual thing. There's no mutual respect between us, the consumer, and the industry anymore. And you can see it with the revelations from James Gunn, right? I'll say anything I want, and these idiots will still come back and watch my shit. Again, as I say, I'm excited for what he's doing. But it's just an interesting situation. The industry has become a much more negative place, if you ask me, and it's unraveling. There's, streaming is losing money every day because they make bland content with no rewatchability. When Netflix first started, they were putting on classic movies. There's no rewatchability on streaming anymore. And it's become all very progressive and very boring and very hip and very PC, but it isn't good for business at the end of the day because everyone has a political opinion. So if you make a film and say that your political opinion is wrong, what's going to happen? That's going to hurt you. That's not going to make them money. So now they're sowing their seeds. I think BAFTA gave a bunch of awards last night to a German movie, didn't they? I think about World War I. I did make this prediction that foreign language movies would take over because they do have talent superior to Hollywood, and Hollywood ain't making anything. All Hollywood are making today. We've got the MCU that steals every screen away from the independent movies. Independent movies used to be the lifeblood of this industry, and this is what's happening today. This industry is in trouble, and if it doesn't change, it will die. In terms of the Western English-speaking industry, it will die. There's no question about that. So our main headlines today are that James Gunn reveals that Superman Legacy and Creature Commandos has been in active development for over 6 months. At the same time, where allegedly there was a Man of Steel sequel in development. What I'm telling you is that was never going to happen. Unless Black Adam made $1 billion, it was never going to happen. So it was never going to happen. I think James Gunn is wrong and mistaken for revealing this information. But he's done it now. He's caused an uproar on the internet. He clearly enjoys causing an uproar and winding up Snyder fans. Good luck to him. And my other thing is I'm still looking forward to the DCU, Gods and Monsters, the first slate. I think it's all very, very exciting. I love the DCEU, but it wasn't a connected franchise. Zack tried to make a connected franchise, bless him. They got rid of him. It became messier and messier and messier. Will Superman wear a black suit? Will Superman wear a blue suit if he comes back? And nonsense like this. It was an effing mess, and we all know that. The flow. James Gunn can throw an olive oil to Snyder fans by keeping Ben Affleck as Batman. Well, before I go, I like to say this. I'm not convinced that Ben Affleck will not continue playing Batman. Now, James Gunn, to be fair to him, has said he's going to use a new actor. But I am not convinced at this moment. He would say that. And don't forget, creatives sometimes lie. The Ben Affleck situation is very, very interesting. How old would Batman be in the DCU? Now, if James Gunn says there's going to be a new actor, I have to take him at his word. But I have a little, I'm not saying this is a definite thing, but I have a little gut feeling that Ben will still be involved. If Ben isn't Batman, maybe Ben will be able to play his Batman in the Elseworld. Now, this will probably upset Snyder fans because they'll say, why does Ben Affleck's Batman get to survive in the Elseworld and, the rest of Zack's universe doesn't? But it wouldn't surprise me that the negotiations James said he was having with Ben a few months ago, wouldn't surprise me if it wasn't for him to do his Batman movie in DC Elseworlds. So I think that's how that Batfleck remains, and continues his arc. I think that could be a thing. And maybe some cameos of some other Snyderverse characters going on there instead of a full kind of restoration of the Snyderverse. So I don't think, thinking about it now, that Ben will be the DCU Batman, but I think he could be involved heavily in DC Elseworlds because Affleck and Gunn have been speaking. And that's my theory at this point. Watch this space for his The Batman movie to be greenlit for DC Elseworlds. That's my hunch. Bat Super, I would take Elseworld Batfleck over nothing. Oh, so would I. So would I. I mean, it would be amazing. It will be an element of the Snyderverse that survived. But the minority of Snyder fans, the way they are, and just the minority, by the way, because I love most of the Snyder fans, because I'm a Snyder fan myself, but I'm not just here for Zack. I'm here for DC, as I always try and explain. Like you, Bat Super, I think this would be a tremendous result. It's clear that Gunn and Affleck have been talking. It's clear that WB, even before the takeover of Discovery, loved Ben Affleck. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in so much of the Flash movie. He's in a lot in that first part of the movie. And as he said, it's the best part of his Batfleck ever. It's better than anything from BVS. It's better than anything from the Snyder Cut. There's some great things in this. Now, I love the Snyder Cut and Batfleck, and I love what they did in BVS. But this really is a more kind of faithful Batman and a faithful older Batman to what you've read in the comics. A more, well, you know, this is a healed Batman, if you like. You know, he was damaged in BVS, wasn't he? And he was just getting over that damage in the Snyder Cut. So, yes, it wouldn't surprise me, Bat Super, if Ben Affleck returns in the DC Elseworlds as Batfleck, and I would fucking celebrate that. The problem is with that, that means potentially we've still got a Bruce Wayne in the Joker sequel because he was in the first film. I think we will see Bruce Wayne in Joker Folie à Deux. I think he'll even be maybe committed in Arkham Asylum, maybe, depending where we start from. Is it a continuation straight off from the first film, or does it jump a bit? I'm not sure. But I think Bruce Wayne will be involved in that movie. You've got the Batman with Matt Reeves. That's another Batman. You've got the Batman in DCU, and that will be a fourth Batman. But I don't think people mind, because if we go multiverse, why not? And it's fun. But Ben Affleck is certainly going to be doing something. Whether it's DCU or Elseworlds, very, very interesting. Because I spoke to a journalist the other day, and they said to me that a friend of theirs is writing an article about Ben Affleck and DC. So something is going to happen. Something is going to be revealed very, very soon. And just like James Gunn's revelation about him developing Superman Legacy and Creature Commandos for over 6 months, I think this will even break Twitter even more. So that's what I've been told by a friend of mine. The Flow, how do you think James Gunn will compromise with Snyder fans? I don't think he's going to compromise with Snyder fans. I think the only thing is, look, Snyder fans, look, that toxic minority are accusing him of being a child abuser. So you've seen what he's been doing. He's been winding up, saying he's spoken to Zack and Zack's moving on, and that Netflix haven't shown any interest in restoring the Snyderverse. So once you go around spitting on someone's face, they're going to spit on your face back. And personally, quite right too. James Gunn is just focused on creating a new franchise. But I think what I've just explained, the possibility of Batfleck being in DC Elseworlds, I think that's the biggest compromise you're going to get. And I don't think you're going to get anything more than that. So, Bat Super, Ben Affleck Batman would do really well. I think it can be a success. I think on Elseworlds, on its own. Listen, it's a bit like Henry Cavill. People love Ben Affleck as Batman. Maybe they didn't necessarily like BVS, but he's a really good Batman and Bruce Wayne, as is Cavill as Clark Kent and Superman. Again, you don't have to like what was done with his character or Batfleck's character, but you can say, in terms of the way they look and their performances and Michael Wilkinson's costumes, absolutely beautiful versions of these characters. Now, lucky for me, I can critique what Zack did with Batfleck and Superman, but I can say I really enjoyed them. They were very kind of modern day versions, darker versions, but I did enjoy what Zack did. But I also understand why people didn't like that vision. But luckily for me, I enjoyed that ride. And I would absolutely love to see Ben Affleck, and who knows? Maybe Ben Affleck will do a Batman and Superman, World's Finest, or something like that over on Elseworlds. Maybe he'll involve Henry, and maybe that's a compromise from James Gunn and Safran and Zaslav. Who knows? At this moment, my friend, and in this business, as I say every day, anything's possible. If there's that to be made, they'll make it. This has been Monday's edition of the DC Universe Daily with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives, please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection, even if I do say so myself. And I will see you tonight when I'm live again. Be there or be square. Hopefully James Gunn drops some more morsels so we can discuss and get our teeth into them. But until I see you tonight, thank you for the interactions. Really enjoyed today's DC Universe Daily Live. Enjoyed your comments. You're all wonderful people. Thank you, Maya. Thank you, The Flow. Thank you, Bat Super. Thank you, Ronnie Dodge, and anyone else who's above my pinned message there that I can't see. I will see you next live, Bat Super. But until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen, and keep it DC. The Flow, thank you. Thank you, The Flow. You've been great, and I see you over on Twitter as well. Be like The Flow and follow me on Twitter @MoviesTVMad. You will not miss a trick. You will know everything about the entertainment industry, all the breaking news about your favorite TV shows, favorite movies, and DC stuff, but not just DC. So come and join me over on Twitter @MoviesTVMad. Until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen. I love you all, and thank you for the support. It's very much appreciated. Very small channel. I don't mind being a small channel, but hopefully one day I win the lottery and this channel becomes huge. That's a dream. I keep on working at it. We'll see what happens. See you tonight. It's been a great time with some great DC fans. See you later.